Slaven Bilic to West Ham, let's be fair, I'm not surprised at all with this. Not in the least bit surprised. I don't say that with hindsight. If you go and look at the video that I did and a reaction to the board statement, I very much said in that, I don't expect us to appoint someone like Nuno Espirito Santo. I expect us to appoint somebody, a very, very familiar name. I made a joke about Harry Redknapp and Sam Allardyce. Very familiar name on a short-term basis for the remainder of the season. It precisely surprised it's Bilic a bit. The fact that West Ham would look to do something like this, I'm not surprised in the least, actually. And there's a really good reason for doing this as opposed to somebody like Sean Dyche, because Sean Dyche would be a really, really unpopular appointment. Slaven Bilic doesn't have that negativity attached to him. Look, he had a really, really good time at West Ham. He finished it poorly. He's not done particularly well in his last few outings, which was, I think he finished his contract in August of 2024 in Saudi Arabia by mutual consent. That contract was terminated. He'd got Watford up to 9th, I think the year before that. That contract was terminated by mutual agreement. He's not done so well, Slav, really, and that's the truth of the matter. But because he's seen as a bit of a West Ham icon, because he's seen as a bit of a, I guess, an antidote to what we perceive to be a lot of what's wrong with the team at the moment, people aren't going to be, I think, as dead against it as they would with someone like Sean Dyche. If you're wondering where this news has come from, it was Alex Crook from TalkSport. I think it might have been TBR Football. I'm sorry if I've quoted the wrong person that's revealed the exclusive there. I absolutely believe this. In fact, not only do I believe this Bilic to West Ham has leapt to number one for me. That number one most likely person to take the West Ham job. I've still got my list actually written just there. We were discussing the list, if you remember. Was it one video or two videos ago? McKenna, Nuno, Jose, Lampard, Southgate, Dyche. Do you remember that video? And I went through them and I suggested why I thought some of them wouldn't happen and why I really feared that some. Well, I was just hoping more than anything that Dyche and Southgate wouldn't happen. And I didn't believe the Jose rumours, didn't believe the Lampard rumours, didn't believe McKenna rumours, and I just didn't think that anyone could make a compelling case as to why Nuno Espirito Santo would join West Ham and why West Ham would hire him. I mentioned it all in a previous video. I'll at the risk of repeating myself again. He likes to have control of transfers. We won't give it to him. He likes to use a favoured agent in terms of George Mendes. There was just too many things, really. And I thought, you can really ruin your reputation at West Ham. But the one thing I did say when I was talking about ruining your reputation at West Ham, I also said that there's an example with David Moyes how you can repair your reputation with West Ham. Now, Graham Potter, he needed to get, after Chelsea, he needed to get his next appointment right. I would suggest he didn't. And I don't think he'll be offered anything close to a top-level job afterwards. Now, I know I'm speaking about him like he's going to get sacked, right? If we beat Crystal Palace on Saturday, then he won't be sacked. So let's just put that out there. But this is all on the proviso that things carry on. He basically carries on how he's been doing at West Ham so far. Slaven Bilic can repair his reputation at West Ham. Make no mistake about that at all. If he gets this right, if he keeps West Ham up, he makes himself employable again. And because I do believe it will only be a short-term contract. After all, West Ham only wanted to offer Graham Potter a short-term contract. He was canny enough to get a 2.5-year deal out of them. These are hard times for West Ham. Really, really hard times. Well, hard times for West Ham. Hard time for West Ham fans. It brings into absolute ridicule the West Ham statement yesterday. Now, if you haven't seen my reaction to the West Ham statement, I don't blame you. It's half an hour long, that video, and I sort of tore it to shreds, really, because I think it takes us all for fools. You have to... West Ham releasing that statement shows that they haven't learned, and as I mentioned at the end of the video, how you meant to fix something that you don't believe is broken. There was no doubt in my mind that the West Ham board don't think anything is broken, right? But one of the things many things I didn't like about that statement. One of them was how much was predicated upon Graham Potter, the success of Graham Potter, and that was just the team, the recruitment, and I said in a video, this is built on a house of cards. Really, it really is crazy that they're putting so much stock and so much faith in Potter, who I think they'd be ready to sack really, really quickly. If there's no bigger indicator of just quite how much, and I'm sorry to use this term, well, I'm not, it's a bloody good term, but I'm sorry to use this term, how much horseshit is in that statement. Nothing quite demonstrates that like the amount of emphasis that is put on Potter succeeding. I think, why have you put that in a statement when you know he's very, very close to leaving? So yeah, not overly impressed with that, certainly. In terms of what we might expect from Slaven Bilic, well, I think that's quite clear, very, very clear. And before I talk about what's clear about Slaven Bilic, can I please point you in the direction of today's video sponsor, which is Surfshark. There's never been a better time for you to go and get yourself a VPN. And if you don't believe me, go and search on Google why you should get a VPN. It's a great way for you to encrypt everything you do on your mobile phone, on your laptop, on your computer, but also a great way for you to change your geolocation. So when you want to access some content ordinarily you might only be able to access in other countries, you can change your geolocation so it doesn't say you're in the UK. Basically, the VPN will say, oh, yeah, I'm in Norway, I'm in Spain, I'm in a good old US of A. Any of those things can be changed on this app. Now, the wonderful thing is, just one subscription here will cover your phone, it will cover your laptop, it will cover your Fire Stick, it will cover your computer. You don't need to get loads of different ones, and we've got a brilliant discount for you, which gives you the first 4 months free. Not only that, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you check it out and you decide you don't like it, no problem at all. You've got to use the link in the description below, or if not, you could just go to the website. You can go to surfshark.com/hammerschat, or if you just get to the checkout part of it, then it asks if you've got a discount code. Put in Hammerschat, all one word, and it will get you all of those discounts. Don't take my word for it. Do your research yourself. But in times when we're all trying to access different content online and maybe content that's restricted in certain countries, and certainly you want to protect yourself with banking apps when you're out on public Wi-Fi and things like that, go and check it out. Go and have a look at Surfshark. Right, I'll tell you what did make me chuckle, because I mentioned this the other day, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago with the no strikers thing, and I'm not going to pretend that I said this with any sort of foresight that Bilic should come in, but I mentioned that that Graham Potter didn't seem to want to use strikers, and Bilic used to chuck loads of them on. Do you remember? We'd be behind in the game, we'd just keep on chucking on strikers. So I think from that perspective, you'd find things change pretty damn quickly with Slaven Bilic in charge. He'd use all of them, and I mean all of them. All of them, all the time. That's just sort of what he does. Bilic would get us playing on the front foot. I don't know what the composition of his backroom team would be. You would, well, Terzic wouldn't be in there, and neither would Dyche. But you've got to imagine he's been in football long enough that he would be able to bring together some sort of backroom team and do it quite quickly. The more I think about it, the more likely I think this is. In fact, I've almost equated it in my mind that this is going to happen. It's such a big game against Crystal Palace, and I'm not convinced that either tactically Graham Potter can turn it around, or from a man management point of view that he can turn it around. And I think this is where Slav will come in. So I think we're sadly lacking on both. I think the team don't look motivated, and we don't look brilliantly tactically set up. Now, I think certainly from the motivational point of view, I think Bilic can do that. I think that our team is too good. Sorry, let me get this right. I don't think we're too good to be relegated. Let me rewind back on that. I think we can be relegated. I think at the moment, if things stay as they are, we're highly likely to get relegated. But I think West Ham have enough good players that we shouldn't be worried about it. All I'm saying is I think we've got a good team. I think we've got a mid-table team. I really do. Slaven Bilic would get us playing on the front foot. He'd get the players playing with pride. He would get the stadium rocking. He would get the playmakers in the team. He would get the attacking players in the team. And he would give us something to look forward to. Do I think that Bilic is the best tactician in the world? No, I don't. But you don't necessarily need all of it. The motivation, the attacking, getting our best players on the pitch and just being sort of semi-organised at corners, that might be enough. That could well be enough to see us from being one of the bottom 3 teams to being a mid-table team. Would this be my choice? No, it wouldn't. I would still go. Look, I don't think, as I say, I don't think we can get Nuno. I just don't. And it's said in the report, I think it was either Ben Jacobs or Alex Crook's report, that West Ham are considering Sean Dyche and Nuno. I don't believe either. I'm not saying we haven't considered it, but I believe Dyche would have been dismissed because I do think there's a PR aspect to appointing Bilic. I do think that they know Dyche should be really unpopular, and I think the appointment of Bilic takes some of the attention away from the board. I think they know that, and I just don't think Nuno would work under the circumstances for reasons I've already explained briefly earlier on and in detail yesterday. I'd still, so for that reason, I don't think you can go and get Iraola. I think it's too late. He's my first choice manager. We ain't getting him. I think it's too late to get De Zerbi. But I don't think it's too late to get Marco Silva. You've got to pay compensation for him, though. I think he would look at the West Ham squad and think, I can do something with that. And I think he could. So that would be my choice. And I just want to make that point now. But the realistic part of me, I do think we're getting Bilic. I do. I think if Potter fails, that's who we're getting, Bilic. And so I'm trying to look for the positives in that. I do think his man management is excellent. I think what he would give us would be enough to keep us up. I think he'd get a short-term deal, and I think if he did that, he'd repair his reputation. Whether that would manifest itself in a knock-on deal for him, I don't know. It's too early to even discuss that. And people will say, well, hold on, you shouldn't be discussing Bilic anyway. We've got a manager. I understand that. But look, hey, this is a West Ham channel where we gossip about West Ham, right? And this is the news. This is the big news of the day. And just look at West Ham. Look at the mess West Ham are in. It is not beyond the realms of possibility that Graham Potter loses his job, and that's not just because West Ham are interviewing replacements. It's not just down to that happening. It's also down to Graham Potter because his record is so bad. There's going to be speculation about his job, and I think this really sounds like it. So, yeah. Anyway, listen. One thing just before I go, can I please just ask you, if you wouldn't mind, 2 things. If you would subscribe to the channel, that would be very, very much appreciated. And next to the subscribe button there is a bell. The other thing I would ask, if you've not done so already, maybe just go and check out our Patreon page. Now, our Patreon page is basically, it's not a page really, it's our third Hammers Chat channel, where we do a load of additional content, do a lot of giveaways, do a lot of really good stuff over there. Tickets all the time, shirts, signed captains' armbands, mugs. We give away a lot of stuff over on Patreon. If you want to give it a whirl, then you can take advantage of our 7-day free trial. Now, what I will tell you is that you don't get entered into the competitions if you just do the 7-day free trial. But our minimum, so we've got 3 separate tiers. Our smallest tier, our lowest tier, our entry-level tier, it's just £3.60 a month for loads of additional content, loads of opportunities to win stuff. And what we like to think is the main reason for doing it is a way that you guys can support Hammers Chat, which allows me to sit here earlier on this morning and doing a half-hour rant about the board, and the board statement, but also being around so as I can react to the news that West Ham are considering appointing Slaven Bilic. So, yeah, we'd really appreciate that if you go and check out our Patreon page. The link to that is in the description below, just like the description for everything else that we do if you look through that. Or you just Google Hammers Chat Patreon. That will take you straight to it. We'd really appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. I was going to say I probably won't be back later on today because, well, 2 videos is plenty, isn't it? Let's be fair. And myself and Gio, funny enough, are recording something for Patreon later on. And we're going to be recording our preview ahead of the Crystal Palace game, which looks like it's becoming increasingly more important.